Go live.
There we are. That's that's what you call TBI tech.
It's all good. We're both used to it, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. So how you feeling today, brother?
Well, you've been following along. I've been harassed for 6 months and I haven't gotten support from the gym. And finally, about a week ago, Paula and I met with the administration and informed them that we were going to be suing the club under the Bain Act, which has $40,000 of damages, and suing the woman, Jackie, who, for whatever reason, about a week after I got in the club in March, became absolutely obsessed with how I breathe, how I move, how I this, how I that, which is all called part of being disabled. And after we threatened to sue, they kicked her out of the club. And I was in yoga this morning, and who shows up but this 102-pound old lady with pigtails? It's Jackie, and is her final hurrah to the club. She wants the club to arrest her, and as she's being arrested, she's yelling, "It's all Ezekiel's fault," and "Get your cameras out." And I was the only one with my camera out. So I'm happy. I know not to celebrate too much, but I did a few dunks this morning, including putting my mat in the spot she usually does. So anyways, but that's not what we're here to talk about.
No, that's what's got you in good spirits,
Yes.
however. Okay, so I'll just ask you, I already told you what I wanted to ask you, but I just want to know, how has brain injury and brain damage, being born with this, affected your life? Like, what are your symptoms? What do you deal with every day?
Well, it's funny. I just celebrate my 50th birthday, and I can look back at my life. A real good example. My wife Paula and I took care of my nursery school, Miss Sunny. She passed away about 4 years ago. I was always Miss Sunny's favorite kid. One thing she liked about me was I would always sit under the table and watch other kids play. And, okay, that's quirky and whatever. But when I got the diagnosis, I realized that's undiagnosed brain damage. I grew up in a fairly difficult family situation, and they all always said Ezekiel is angry because I would react to any input as anger. So the whole story was that I was born angry. My mom, wrote a 6-month note to me that my eyes were angry. And of course, once again, that's undiagnosed brain damage. So it's pretty much, been a life of figuring out how to exist with this. And I didn't really fully know what I had until I was 45. I got sick when I was 14 in Yugoslavia, was in a hospital for 9 months. They called it viral encephalitis. My wife and I were taking care of my mom, of her mom and dad in Berkeley, and I put on too much weight, and I went on a low carb diet. And you know this, Gavin, but my disease is biotin thiamine basal ganglia disease. It's been found in less than 100 people in history, but basically what that means is my brain doesn't take vitamin B1 in properly. So I had seizures, and by the time they figured, I was at a bad hospital that didn't give vitamin B1. I was dying, and I got transferred across the bay to UCSF, which is a better hospital, and they give a bottle of vitamin B1 because there's a disease, alcoholic get, called Wernicke's encephalopathy, which is similar to what I have, basically seizures from not getting enough vitamin B1. So I immediately got better, released from the hospital. 2 months later, Mission Bay Genetics came back with the fact that I have biothiamine basal ganglia disease, and I now currently just take a huge handful of vitamin B1. And of course, you're in Canada, so you're not used to our healthcare system. Paul and I are fine on money, but of course, the insurer won't cover vitamins because they say it's not therapeutic. So we pay for our own vitamins, which is what keeps me alive. So it's affected every aspect of my life. I do a lot, as you know, I do a lot of meditation and yoga, and I have a very nice mindset. But yeah, it's affected everything in my life for sure.
Yeah. Wow. Um, and I know you, as you said yourself, you practice a lot of yoga and you meditate, and that's one thing that I admire about you a lot. I I was talking to my grandma earlier, and I said, the people that I help out they're in bad situations, but they're trying to do the best that they can, and some of them are doing the best that they can. So, like, I won't help someone out if they're still doing drugs or if they
Yeah.
don't want to help themselves.
Yeah.
What I admire about you and Cheeto and Lewis and everybody is that you are trying your best. You might not have all of the money, you might not have everything. I don't care about that. I care about what's inside. You're trying. Your soul is actually trying.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Well, you also probably know this, but our community lost Corey, who was a gentleman who was treating his brain cancer with naturally. And
Hmm.
every time I'm in Los Angeles, I try to meet up with Cheeto. And this is also a thing about relating to brain injured people. I'm like, I've gone to visit Cheeto and say, Cheeto, let's go to a football game. And he's like, no, I don't want to go to a football game. And I know that Cheeto loves me and he's one of the most important people in my life, but he can't deal with the input. And I went over to Charger Stadium last time and we left after the second half because it was too much input. But anyways, next Saturday morning I'll be eating pancakes with Cheeto, and he's an incredible human being. He woke up from a stroke, forgot he had a son, forgot his wife had left him, and that dude just walks around Inglewood every day, and he likes to grow his chilies. And as a joke, we take a chili with us to the pancake place.
Spicy pancakes.
Yes. Yeah, but landing in Grass Valley in March, I just went down to the South Yuba Club and just started doing 2 or 3 hours of yoga a day. And what it's helped me the most, my balance is better because I'm balancing from my core, but my mental space is really good because I have a wonderful teacher who is all about mental health and breath work and all this kind of stuff. So
She sounds amazing.
she's great.
From what you've told me about her, yeah.
How has yoga helped you, Gavin?
Oh, I want to ask you more questions. Like
Oh,
what?
I'm sorry.
Okay, as far as like the mental aspects of yoga, like depression and anxiety, how's that? How has yoga helped you with that? Like you've
uh,
talked about balance and kind of the physical aspects.
tremendously. So for people who aren't like super into yoga, there's a concept called samadhi, which is just kind of a stillness of the mind and stuff. And I think about 4 months ago, I was for the first time in my life hitting these states and reaching out to Gavin and talking with my friend Jennifer. And it's so important for my mental health. And it's funny. Now I can leave for a couple of days and I can just feel things getting a little shaky. And I'm like, okay, I'm just shaky. And then I hit the mat and start doing the postures again. And I'm like, oh, I'm getting back to being mentally well. And it's interesting. I mean, with all the crazy stuff that's gone on in the gym, I um, have gotten shaky and gotten violent impulses in my head and all the stuff that TBI people do. But, thanks to Nicole and Homer and meditation, I'm like, I'm okay. I'm not my thoughts. I don't need to pick this woman up and throw her over the railing. I can just breathe and be Zeke. And you have to be honest about it. I mean, that's the way the TBI brain thinks, especially in males. And so it's been really, really flattening out of motion, not in a bad way. People oftentimes put their mat next to me because they can feel the love pulsating from my body. So, but
Yeah.
you know, it just makes a huge difference. And like I said, when I start feeling mentally unwell, usually within 15 minutes, I'm like, oh, this is where I need to be. I also, I've shared this with Cheeto and many other people in the brain injury community. I mean, one of the hardest things we have is our sleep disturbances. And I do a lot of yoga nidras. I, um, Paula, my wife, requires more sleep. When we wake up in the morning, oftentimes go in the other room and do a yoga nidra. I also do a yoga nidra before I go to bed, and I found that it makes me sleep better. And so, yeah, I mean,
And that was
yoga is big.
one of the, sorry, that was one of the practices that I prescribed you was yoga nidra.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's
So
wonderful.
when you are practicing yoga and you do get too tired, do you have a strategy? Like, do you practice Ashtanga yoga when you have enough energy to, and then you practice the slower forms when you don't?
Well, because of the harassment, it got so intense about 2 months ago that I did get a membership to Warmth, which is a hotter yoga place. So now I have the option of going to hot yoga or going to yoga at the gym, and I definitely like they have. Uh, I'm not a big fan of Bikram, but they have a Bikram mashup, and maybe like once a month I'll go do the Bikram mashup.
Okay.
So I definitely check in with my energy level before I do it. And they have Lunar Flow, which is kind of a yin style, and they have a yin yoga. So those are later in the day, and I typically run out of energy about 2 in the afternoon. So I'll sometimes go in like 4:30 to a yin class because my body's not up for the more hard stuff. Um, I'm an odd bird in that sense. I had a career as a body worker for 25 years, so I really know the body. And I also know I see so many people in the community, in the brain injury community, and the regular community, using movement for mental health, and they do too much of it, and then they hurt their shoulder, hurt their back, or hurt their this, or hurt their that. And Ezekiel doesn't hurt his body because he knows Saturday is a day to rest and watch college football. Only do too many push-ups if the Ducks score too many touchdowns. So then maybe that's when I break the rules. But Saturday is just a day of doing nothing.
Yeah, you're
Well,
very wise.
thank you.
And that wisdom comes from experience. So you have had a lot of experience.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, Anyways, that's why I admire you and respect you, because I know if I tell you something that isn't the truth, or you're gonna know, you know.
Thank you, buddy.
Don't call me out on that. I like that. Um,
Thank you.
but uh, yeah, what I wanted to say is just it's important to use your yoga practice, like you know how when you first get into the yoga pose, it's not the final expression of the pose,
Yeah.
but you're just always adjusting your body and
Mm-hmm.
in tune with your body. So if your shoulders a bit sore and you're in down dog, you might back off your shoulders a bit. So you're using wisdom. And I think you already do this, but really what I wanted to teach you is to use that wisdom and to treat every day like a yoga practice
Mm-hmm.
so that you stop tiring yourself out and you're good at this
Yeah.
and you take breaks when you need to.
Mm.
That's the biggest benefit that I've gotten from my yoga practice.
Yeah.
Because when I first started to do movement therapy, I started practicing karate, and that was
Mm.
too much for me.
Mm.
I was expected to do more than I could have done if I was a healthy person, but I had brain injury.
Yeah.
I didn't understand that, so I was like punishing myself, thinking
Yeah.
I had to like do the most push-ups that I could every
Yeah.
day and going back.
Yeah, this is an interesting phenomenon, and there's few people in the brain injury community. I comment on this too. So I know Cheeto's the same as this, and we both had trouble walking after we got out of the hospital. So we start walking, and then you walk more, and then you walk more. And 2 years ago, I did over 22,000 steps a day. And then I'm like, wait a minute, Zeke, do you really need to be walking 10 miles a day? You're safe, you know how to walk. There's a wonderful gentleman, Markham, in South America, and he had a mild stroke, and he's walking about 30,000 steps a day. And every time I get a chance in a nice way, I'm like, buddy, you know how to walk. You don't need to do that. And that's always hard because we lose our function. And
And
so,
it's also this is also what yoga helps to bring back, but we lose a connection with reality.
yeah.
We don't understand that our brain can't function the same ways, but we're so happy to have our speech back or
Mhm.
our walking. We're so happy to be able to walk
Yeah.
again that we do more of it.
Yeah.
That can work against us and we get tired out, and so I think that's a very important lesson to learn from yoga is
Yeah.
to slow yourself down and to actually be real with yourself
Yeah.
because it
Yeah.
I mean, it hurts to
Yeah.
like I can't do I'm older, I can't do what I used to. You know, that hurts to tell yourself,
Hmm.
but it's reality.
Well, it's reality, but in our community, it's a huge reality because most people like time they're 60 to lose a step and then 65. For most of us, like Cheeto, are you like you have one event and all of a sudden you've aged 25 years and then you
Yeah.
have to deal with that. And actually, I do a lot of Qigong with older folks, and this is low key ableism, and I'm not mean to them, but I'll say, like, I forget stuff, and they'll say, oh, I do also. And I'm like, wait a minute, dude, I'm 50, you're 86. Please do not compare the brain of a 50-year-old to an 86-year-old, you know? So
Yeah.
it's all about, keeping your mind in line and stuff. That
Yeah, I think you know how to do that very well.
think I saw that my wife hopped on and she mentioned Ganja yoga, and it's kind of funny. There is a lady in Grass Valley who teaches Ganja yoga, and we go usually on Friday afternoon, Friday evening, and it's like super low dose, like 5 milligram, just kind of holding postures and just kind of doing some tapping and stuff. And
Do you
that's been pretty interesting. Yeah.
How does it work? Does she give you edibles?
She has 5 milligram edibles. Yeah. There's one guy who's always pre-gaming in the parking lot with a lot more. And the first time I didn't know I went, so I mean I've got connections with the industry and stuff, and we have a bunch of baking stuff, and Paula bakes these super strong scones, and I ate a scone, and it was everything I could do to stay awake. So the next time I went, I just did the 5 milligram edible.
You enjoy
Are you
it more
familiar with
than-
that? Are you familiar with that brand, Ganja Yoga?
Yeah, I've got the book actually.
Oh, cool.
She's from Toronto actually, Dee Dussault, I believe.
Yeah, yeah. So one of her practitioners. Sorry, go ahead.
You can continue.
One of her practitioners is in Grass Valley. That's all.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Okay. Yeah, I liked the book, but she made a lot of claims about being able to see her chakras, and whenever people say they can see their chakras, I'm just like, show me a chakra. You can't. So anyway, a lot of stuff that can't really be validated with truth was said in the book, but it's a good book. I recommend it to anybody. Like,
So little esoteric is what you're saying.
yeah,
Yeah.
just I'm not familiar with that stuff, so I have like had experiences, like esoteric experiences, but I take everything with a grain of salt. You know, I'm a skeptic.
Prove it.
Yeah, exactly. I think you're the same way, kind of.
Yeah,
Like,
pretty much. And of course, you're in yoga, and my whole career was in body work. So you best believe I've heard enough woo-woo stuff to last a lifetime.
Yeah. Anyways, is there anything else that you wanted to share, Ezekiel?
No,
Thank you so much for joining me.
It's really, I admire consistency. And as I spend more time on Brain Injury Instagram, there's Gavin and his yoga, Cheeto and his chili peppers. Morgan in Sedona, who I met and I'm going to see again in the spring in her hikes and her walks. And, it's fine. Just find something your brain wants to do and do it. And that's for me, that's the way through. And sometimes I need help. Like last couple of weeks I need help. But whenever I can help other people, because you feel better helping other people. So that's all. I'm off my soapbox now.
Oh,
and
that was beautiful.
There's the kitties. Meow.
Oh.
It's all kitten. Wishbone. Have a great day, Gavin.
Thank you, Zeke. Merry Christmas.
Bye. Merry Christmas.